Power and purpose are central elements to anyone who leads. But how do we truly understand these concepts at a deeper, psychological level? Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, offers invaluable insights into the human psyche and leadership that can help us think like a king, intentionally, with confidence, and with a clear sense of purpose. In his work, Jung delves into the depths of the human condition, showing us how we can become more self-aware and master the art of power in ways that are both wise and grounded in a higher purpose. The concept of a king is not only about ruling over others, it's about mastering oneself, understanding one's inner world, and leading with a purpose that is greater than personal gain. Jung's ideas suggest that we all have the potential for leadership, but to harness true power, we must first look inward, integrate our shadow, and become whole. In this video, we will explore two essential aspects of Carl Jung's philosophy that can transform the way we approach power, leadership, and purpose. These principles, when applied, can unlock a higher understanding of what it means to lead with wisdom, strength, and authenticity. Jung often spoke about the concept of archetypes, universal symbols and themes that shape human behavior. The king archetype is one of the most powerful, representing not only authority and leadership but also the integration of the conscious and unconscious mind. A true king, in Jungian terms, is someone who has mastered their inner world and governs not only the kingdom around them, but also their internal kingdom, their thoughts, emotions, and instincts. At the core of Jung's psychology is the idea of individuation, the process of becoming the person we are truly meant to be. For a leader, this process involves integrating all aspects of oneself: the conscious and unconscious, the rational and the emotional, the shadow and the light. In other words, a king is someone who has gone beyond the surface of their ego and has understood and integrated the deeper parts of their psyche. To think with power and purpose, one must first look inward and understand the entirety of their being. The king archetype requires wisdom born not from external accolades, but from a profound understanding of oneself. This integration is not an easy task. It requires facing the shadow, the repressed parts of the psyche that we are often unwilling to confront. The shadow holds our unresolved emotions, traumas, and unconscious desires, and in order to lead with authenticity and power, these must be acknowledged and integrated. A leader who can reconcile their internal conflicts is one who exudes confidence and clarity. When we are at peace with ourselves, when we have mastered our own fears and insecurities, we can lead others with true authority. A king who is ruled by his own unconscious desires or fears is a tyrant, but a king who has reconciled these inner conflicts can lead with balance, fairness, and purpose. Jung also emphasized the importance of symbolism in understanding ourselves and the world around us. The king archetype is a symbol of not just authority, but of wisdom, order, and responsibility. A true leader does not impose their will for personal gain, but rather governs in a way that ensures the well-being of those they lead. This is leadership with a purpose that extends beyond self-interest. In this sense, the king archetype represents psychological wholeness, the ability to lead others by first mastering one's own psyche. A true leader understands that power is not about control over others, but about understanding and controlling oneself. To lead with purpose, one must have a clear sense of self, and this clarity can only be achieved through self-exploration and the integration of all parts of the self. While the king archetype represents integration and balance, Carl Jung also cautioned about the potential dangers that power brings. For a leader to fully harness their power, they must also recognize the lurking pitfalls of their own psyche. The shadow. The shadow represents the unconscious parts of ourselves that we suppress, deny, or fail to integrate. These can be traits that society deems undesirable or aspects of ourselves that are uncomfortable to face. However, in the realm of leadership, the shadow can be both a source of strength and a destructive force if left unchecked. When someone gains power, there's a natural temptation to begin to view oneself as separate from others, better, more capable, or more deserving. This is the moment where ego inflation occurs. As Jung stated, The ego is a dangerous thing. It serves a necessary function, but if it becomes inflated, if it is no longer kept in check by humility and self-awareness, it can distort one's perception of reality. The leader becomes trapped in their own image, ultimately becoming disconnected from the very people they are meant to lead. A leader who fails to confront their own shadow may begin to project their own weaknesses onto those around them. This projection occurs when we take aspects of ourselves that we don't like or refuse to accept and place them on others. In a leadership context, this may manifest as unnecessary criticism or even scapegoating. The leader may feel threatened by anyone who challenges their authority, viewing them as inferior or as adversaries. This projection serves to protect the leader's fragile ego, but it damages relationships and creates an environment of fear and distrust. Jung warns against the tyranny of the unconscious, which occurs when leaders are unaware of their shadow and are driven by unconscious fears, desires, and impulses. In this state, power is no longer a tool for serving the collective good, but is instead wielded to control, dominate, and manipulate. The leader begins to operate out of fear of losing their position, fear of being perceived as weak, and fear of vulnerability. In these cases, power becomes less about wisdom and more about maintaining control at all costs. This mindset creates toxic dynamics, both in the leader's psyche and within the larger group they lead. However, Jung did not suggest that power itself is inherently destructive. In fact, power can be a force for good. The key is how the leader engages with their own inner world. A leader who understands their shadow, who is aware of the unconscious impulses that may arise in moments of fear, anger, or insecurity, can consciously choose to act in a manner that is aligned with their higher purpose. The shadow is not inherently evil. It simply represents parts of ourselves that have been repressed. When integrated into consciousness, the shadow can provide the leader with greater emotional depth, empathy, and insight. A king who has confronted their shadow understands that their authority must be earned, not taken by force or manipulation. The healthiest form of leadership comes from a place of inner security, a leader who knows themselves, their strengths, and their vulnerabilities. Such a leader can inspire trust and loyalty because they are not driven by insecurity or the need to prove themselves. They lead from a place of deep integrity, using their power to elevate others, not subjugate them. One crucial aspect of managing the shadow in leadership is the practice of self-reflection. Jung emphasized the need for leaders to engage in ongoing self-exploration, to examine their motivations, desires, and fears. This is particularly important in moments of crisis or when difficult decisions need to be made. When leaders fail to reflect on their emotional states, they risk making decisions driven by unconscious impulses, which may have long-term negative consequences. Self-reflection allows leaders to pause, assess their feelings, and choose actions that align with their deeper values and the greater good. In addition to self-reflection, Jung also advocated for humility in leadership. Humility does not mean weakness. It means recognizing that while a leader may hold power, they are still human, flawed, imperfect, and continuously evolving. A humble leader is one who does not demand respect but earns it through actions, wisdom, and integrity. They remain grounded and are not blinded by their position or external praise. Humility allows the leader to remain in touch with their humanity and connect with others on a deeper level. It also ensures that they are more open to feedback, recognizing that they do not have all the answers and that growth is a continuous process. By acknowledging their shadow, leaders can become more self-aware and develop a more authentic form of power. Rather than ruling with fear, insecurity, or a need for dominance, they can lead with clarity, compassion, and purpose. This kind of leadership attracts respect, loyalty, and trust because it is grounded in self-knowledge, wisdom, and a genuine desire to serve others. Moreover, the fear of losing power is a deep-seated psychological issue that many leaders face. This fear can stem from early childhood experiences, societal pressures, or a sense of inadequacy. When this fear takes root, it can become a driving force behind decisions, leading to the erosion of relationships, ethical boundaries, and the integrity of the leadership itself. To overcome this fear, a leader must face it head-on and come to terms with their own vulnerability. Acknowledging that power is not a permanent or fixed commodity allows leaders to let go of their need for control and embrace a more flexible, responsive form of leadership. In conclusion, Jung's insights into the shadow of power highlight the importance of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and humility in leadership. Power, when used consciously and in alignment with one's authentic self, can inspire and elevate those around us. But when driven by unconscious impulses, ego, and fear, it can be destructive. True power comes from within and is rooted in an ongoing process of self-exploration, confrontation with our shadow, and integration of both light and dark aspects of our personality. Leaders who embrace this journey become not only more effective, but also more compassionate, wise, and grounded in their leadership. By embracing the shadow, confronting our fears, and practicing self-awareness, we can better navigate the complexities of power and leadership. Carl Jung's wisdom teaches us that the key to effective leadership lies not in control over others, but in self-mastery, emotional integrity, and a deep understanding of our unconscious motivations. A leader who has mastered themselves becomes a true king, someone who leads with purpose, clarity, and an unwavering sense of responsibility toward those they guide. If you found these insights valuable, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more discussions on psychology, personal growth, and Carl Jung's profound teachings on leadership.